or visit boothmuseum.org.
7:41 the time, now on AM 1450 WBHF. I'm Alan Sanders. We shift gears out of news mode into political forum mode here. It is my pleasure to welcome into our studios the two candidates in the runoff for Bartow County Commissioner, Mike Bearden and Steve Taylor. Now, we are going to continue this forum much like the rules we've had in our political forum at the Grand Theater. Each candidate is going to be given a 60-second opening statement. We will alternate back and forth between the two candidates with questions that have been polled from not only you, the listener, per a lot of our feedback through our Facebook page, but also through our WBHF news staff. And, of course, I'll have the option of throwing in questions based on responses. The candidates will have the option to rebut answers that the other candidate may have made. That's a 30-second window, 60-second response times for answers, and then a 60-second closing. Each candidate in the second segment will have the option of asking no more than 2 questions of the other candidate if there was some questions that were not asked during the actual forum portion. So at 7:42, let's go from my left to my right. We start off with Steve Taylor and his opening statement. Steve?
I'm Steve Taylor, a candidate for Bartow County Commissioner. My wife Sandy and I have 3 children, all girls. We lost a son in 2005 to stomach cancer. We have 7 grandchildren. We run a business that's been in my family since 1948, so we've gotten to know a lot of families throughout the years. I think it's time to give back to this community that's been so good to my family all these years. That's why I'm committed to bringing my campaign to the people of Bartow County. I'm committed to buying campaign materials locally, putting my money where my mouth is. I've developed a lot of relationships throughout the county. Years of being involved with different civic and business groups in our community has helped to prepare me to become our next county commissioner. I hope during this discussion that you learn more about me and my vision for Bartow County. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Now we have 60 seconds for Mike Bearden and your opening statement. Mike?
Thank you, Alan. This is an effort to give back to the county. This campaign is about that for the people of the county. The question in this runoff is who is the most conservative candidate? My wife and Jan and I have knocked on over $7,000 together since March, hearing people's concerns, seeking their votes. This campaign is about we the people versus the people of power. It's about the hardworking taxpayers who live within those 7,000 knocked doors. They're the ones I'm running for, not the establishment. Not those who try to beat the system or play a game of good old boy politics. The establishment has their candidate. We, the people, have ours. Find out more by visiting our website at mikebearden.com. Thanks to the many citizens who reached out to help us in so many ways through our volunteer committees. You have uplifted us. You're the ones who made this campaign of we the people so successful against the people of power. The establishment has their candidate. We the people have ours. To God be the glory. These are trying times in our county that call for bold new ideas from visionary and energetic leadership. Review our plans, ideals at our website, mikebearden.com.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Those are our two candidates. Now we will continue our format. We go back and forth. So, Mike, you were the second person to start, so that way you get the first question. This question directed specifically to you. One of your radio ads says, and you used it in your opening statement, that we the people versus the people of power. You also said you need to send the establishment a message. People of Bartow want to know who specifically are the people of power and the establishment you are referring to.
Thanks, Alan. Bartow County doesn't have a lock on that phrase. All across this country. In New York, it's the machine. In Chicago, it's Chicago politics. In Philadelphia, it's the union movement. All across the South, it's called the establishment or the good old boy system. It's anybody who is in a position of power or influence and who seeks to better their individual circumstances at the expense of the citizens as a whole. Not saying anybody's done it, but we can't afford to let that happen. I'm just stating that I am someone who would not allow that to happen. I am someone that's not beholden to anyone. I'm someone who's been very blessed with this county, who has made me and has given me so many opportunities. And it's time in my life that I can do the best thing I can by giving back, by being someone that looks to turn our county to the future in a way that I think we've got a unique opportunity now. We, the people, are the citizens of Bartow County. We're now a very complex, large county of 105,000 folks. We've got a promising future. I look to lead that.
Steve, do you wish to rebut that?
Yeah, I would like to know also who the good old boy system is. I think what Mr. Bearden's alluding to, if you've been involved in civic groups, served on nonprofit boards, ran a small business, and have a vast network of friendships and relationships throughout Bartow County, then you're a good old boy. Well, if that's the tag, then I'll happily accept the tag of good old boy. And there's not a group of people here that runs this community or runs Steve Taylor. I am my own individual.
All right, Mike, anything you want to respond back on that?
I'm not talking about Steve Taylor. I'm talking about the establishment that is seeking positions of influence. I'm telling you again, I'm beholden to no one. I have no allegiances. I've not been doing land deals in the county and have relationships all over the county that cause me to have any conflict of interest in deciding how this county will grow. Decisions on roads, water, sewer, transportation, land use planning, and zoning must have an objective, independent evaluation to ensure that the county as a whole is served as we go forward.
All right, let's continue on then. Our next question goes directly to Steve Taylor. Now, one of your ads on the radio states that you have been responsible for thousands of jobs and billions of dollars in investments. Now, can you provide some specifics about what companies or investments and your involvement, and what is the source of those numbers?
The source of the numbers is Bartow County Economic Development Department. It's a public records open to anybody that wants to go up and look. The office is in the Chamber building. Most recent, the best example would be Toyo Tire. I serve on a board with 6 other board members, the JDA as it's called, and during the Toyo Tire there was a lot of controversy during the recruitment of Toyo Tire, and we worked tirelessly. I say we, a lot of people besides the JDA members, to recruit Toyo Tire. There's now 1,070 jobs at last count that I had at least, and soon to be 1,400 jobs up there, and good paying jobs with benefits. And that's what this community needs, good paying jobs with benefits. That's I know I'm out of time, but that's the most recent and best example of what our Development Authority has done for this community.
Giving you just a few extra seconds, were there other companies or other investments that you can point to quickly?
There's other companies that's looked, and there's other companies that are continuing to look. The best source for job growth in the community is not from new companies, but from the companies that are already here, like Shaw Industries. Over the years, they've added hundreds of workers, and through a worse recession in our lifetime, they have come through like a shining star, and that's the best example of added jobs that I can think of in the community.
All right, Mike, would you like to respond? You have 30 seconds.
I agree with that last statement by my opponent. The best atmosphere for creating jobs is a very user-friendly business government. Lower taxes, not higher taxes, is what causes jobs to be created and attractive. We've got to do everything we can to keep government lean, efficient, and ensure that things like the T-SPLOS, which was just passed, which my opponent supported, is not getting in the way of added jobs and growth. It's a very competitive world out there. I've been in it. I was in it in many different ways I can go. We need to ensure that that lean system continues.
All right. Next question for the candidates. This one goes to you, Mike. You have mentioned in speaking engagements at the Cartersville Exchange Club and others that you were on the ground floor of bringing the Lake Point Sports Complex to Emerson. What was your specific role in that process?
That's not quite a direct quote. I was on the ground floor of the infrastructure that made it possible. I was actually, at the end of this, several years ago, the city engineer for 1 year for the city of Emerson. Prior to that, I served as a consultant for the folks that own most of the land, in fact, all of the land that Lake Point is presently on, as well as another 700 acres that's undeveloped there at the interchange of Red Top Mountain Road, to ensure that that's our new front door. I am one of the key members of the team that negotiated the sewer contracts, conceptually designed the sewer system that was financed by private money that's been in the ground for 4 or 5 years and is now there under contract with the Lake Point folks through the city of Cartersville, from the city of Emerson to that group of fine folks that have been looking to improve the county for really a decade. I'd be glad to give you more details. You're not going to give me enough time to do so, but that's the basis for that.
Let me give you a few extra seconds then, as I did for Steve in that last answer. Can you provide additional details of how you were instrumental in or being part of the ground floor process of bringing Lake Point to Emerson?
Again, I have never said I brought Lake Point. I was involved in the infrastructure that made them possible. A $10 million sewer system that's in place. I was in the core strategic team for a group of 4 property owners designing that system, negotiating the contract, reviewing the contract, negotiating by proxy through with the city of Emerson, the city of Cartersville, to ensure that that thing has been in place. Those 2,000 acres there that came available 7 or 8 years ago, I've forgotten the exact time, I was at those private meetings. I was in the negotiations of the land that was used for there, where it was put together in a consortium to build that project, ultimately.
All right. Steve, did you want to take any time to rebut that?
I'll take just a second. I'm proud that Mike's finally cleared up the Lake Point issue, because all during this campaign I've heard that Mike Bearden is claiming that he brought Lake Point. So we're on record finally to say that Mike did not bring Lake Point to Bartow County. He just said it. I'm proud he finally come clean on it. And so now we know that Mike had nothing to do with bringing Lake Point to Bartow County.
Mike, 30 seconds.
That's another attack by the establishment based on misinformation and mistruths, secondhand information that's all over the county. And I'm glad that Steve is taking ownership of those rumors and mistruths. I've never said that. He says that. That's not true. You heard what I said. That's what's true. That's what I've been saying for a year.
All right. Next question goes to Steve Taylor. Steve, we were sent a comment wanting to know how you were able, or how you will be able to, being a small business owner, how will you handle the role of county commissioner while still owning your small business? How are you planning to balance those two roles? And also, if you can answer that, part of this will also be, will your company be allowed to bid on any county business, or would the county purchase anything from your company?
Let's go with the business that my business would do with the county. Absolutely zero business will be done. My business will do with Bartow County. We will not bid on anything. We will not sell them anything. If I'm an owner of my business January 1, we will do absolutely zero business with them. If my wife is the owner of our business on January 1, we will do no business with Bartow County. I will be a full-time commissioner. I'm going to surround myself with good, hard-working people, people that work harder and people that are smarter than me. I know that I don't have all the answers, but I know during my business career that the best way to get things done is find people that work hard and work smart. That's what I intend to do. There will be absolutely zero conflict with owning my business.
Mike, did you want to respond on that at all?
People that have seen my wife and I work so hard knocking on all these doors since March the 17th understand my work ethic. They understand how I apply myself. I always have, and I will in the job of commissioner if I'm honored to be there. There's absolutely zero potential of conflict of interest for me in terms of owning another business or owning land across the county. I'm beholden to no one. I have nothing but the best interest in heart for the county as a whole. The energy that you've seen from me in the campaign is what the people deserve and what they'll get if I'm commissioner.
All right. Next question goes then to Mike Bearden. On your website, you list as part of your blueprint that we, quote, must protect our families and our community's values. Further states that, quote, as stewards of our local community, we each have an obligation to involve ourselves wherever we can to reinforce the notion that strong family units are necessary for the long-term survival of our society, end quote. What role does county government have in monitoring family and community values?
Thank you, Alan. The leader of any organization or any component of society is no more important than the lowest paid part of that system. The folk who shovel garbage at the landfill have no more value than Mike Bearden if he's honored by being commissioner. That being said, what the commissioner says and does has enormous impact on culture and value systems. I promise that I'll be a steward. I'll be a prime example of what made our country great. We're based on the Judeo-Christian ethic. Everything in our culture comes back through, ultimately, the Magna Carta to the Old Testament to Ten Commandments. And you're going to find myself, I'm talking about Mike Bearden, as a prime model to ensure that all those things that made our country great are reinforced and signals any way I can. The faith-based community is a hugely important component out there to supplement and augment government, not be replaced by government. We've got to find ways to increase that involvement.
Steve, would you like to respond? 30 seconds.
I think the commissioner can be a shining example on this community. I think that you lead by example. I think talk is cheap. I think that you have to treat people fairly. That includes county employees. That includes the taxpayers. As commissioner, we're going to work for the taxpayers. And I think that morally and ethically, the commissioner has to be, as Mike says, I think we need to be an example to our community. And that's what I intend to do.
All right. We'll be able to fit in another question or two in this segment before we take our break. And, folks, if you're just tuning in, we've got Mike Bearden and Steve Taylor, two candidates in the runoff for Bartow County Commissioner. We are breaking our forum into two pieces. 20 minutes before the top of the hour, we'll do a news break and then continue for an additional 20 minutes. This is a question that is actually written for both candidates to answer. So we will go to Steve Taylor first. Have you discussed or promised any possible job openings or job opportunities with any of your supporters should you become commissioner?
Absolutely not. I've promised nothing as far as jobs go to any of my supporters. I cannot imagine the new commissioner hiring anyone for any particular job other than county administrator. And I think that job is so important. It's so above one person running the county that job needs to be done soon. And I think I'm going to talk to Commissioner Brown if I'm elected and see if maybe the county administrator can go to work early, because I know that as county commissioner, one man can't do all jobs. You can't be the county commissioner. You can't be the administrator. And you can't do a lot of these other jobs. You've got a full-time job being county commissioner. How are you going to go out and recruit and do the full responsibilities of the county commissioner if you're doing more than one job? I mean, I'm not Superman, but the key to running a successful business will be just like government. Surround yourself with smart, hard-working people and let them go to work.
All right, since that question is identical for you, Mr. Bearden, you've got 60 seconds. How would you, or have you made any promises to any of your followers or supporters for any job openings?
Absolutely no. The business of our government is so complex now. I've been around. I've been elsewhere. I know that there's various models of how to structure our government. We've got to evaluate that. I promised since day one a zero-based budgeting effort and full evaluation of all policies, all functions, the capabilities of the existing departments, the capabilities of the existing staff. As we move forward, I don't know what that model will look like in 6 months, but I'm telling you one thing. The biggest change, the first change that I intend to make is to ensure that the county commissioner job is the CEO of the county, not a permanent political job. We need to change the nature of which we present ourselves and which we operate the government. My focus is going to be to ensure that we bring it to the most efficient level we can, and I will be the administrator, starting volunteer basis sometime late in September, early November. They're going to have to, if I'm honored by being Christian, going to have to find me a closet to work from. But come January the 1st, we're going to spend full time on evaluating how to move forward. I spent a year talking to folks. I know what the people need for the county's government now. I don't need to focus on politics.
All right. Well, we have reached the end of this first segment, ladies and gentlemen, from the audience, and we want to thank as well Steve Taylor and Mike Bearden for being here. We've got another segment coming up. We need to take a break at the top of the hour here. Fox News will get you caught up on some national news. We'll also get you caught up on a shortened local headline, so you'll want to tune in. Tom Chenal will bring you all of the news, and then we will be back here. We have several more questions to ask of our candidates. We want to encourage you to please keep listening on AM 1450 WBHF via the website, WBHFradio.org. You can listen on your smartphone using the TuneIn Radio app, 770-606-1800. And welcome back to AM 1450 WBHF. I'm Alan Sanders in the studios along with two candidates who are in a runoff for the position of Bartow County Commissioner. We have Mike Bearden in studio along with Steve Taylor. If you just now are tuning in, you already missed opening statements and the first round of questions, but we have several more questions to get to before the bottom of the hour. All right, let's kick things off. We'll start off with Steve Taylor on this one. Steve, both of you have earned endorsements from other citizens in our community. Let's face it, we live in a community where people know just about everybody, and sometimes endorsements may mean a lot to people. So can you name two people who have endorsed you and why their endorsement is important to you and the voters?
Start with Miss Dot Frazier. She's known me for I don't know how many years. We go back so far I can't even remember. Way back past when my kids was in Pine Lode School and she was the principal. She endorsed me because she thought I had a heart for this community, and I felt the pulse of Bartow County. And she told me so. She encouraged me before I ran, and nobody talked me into running for commissioner, but Miss Dot was one of those early encouragers that I'll never forget. Another person is Paul Battles. Paul Battles, State Representative Paul Battles, he was my pastor for 10 years at Peoples Valley. And there's nobody I look up to any more than Paul. And he was an early encourager, just like Miss Dot. And I can tell you that his reputation in this community is very good, and it's preceded by no one. I just appreciate both of those folks for encouraging me, and throughout this campaign, I just thank both of them.
All right, Mike, we'll ask you that same question. Endorsements are important to some folks. Who are two people that have endorsed you, and why is that important to you and to your campaign?
Thanks, Alan. This campaign of We the People versus the People of Power has so many endorsements from the people that I will not list all of them. I've been so honored for 225 folks who are on our campaign committee distribution list who have reached out to me, not me to them. I don't ask for endorsements. When I'm knocking on doors and when I'm talking to people, I don't ask for their vote. I ask them to check me out. I don't seek endorsements. That's not what it's about. It's between those folks and the voting booth. When endorsements come, and we could name a couple, I'm thankful for them, but I've not yet asked, and I do not intend to ask for endorsements. This is about the people of Bartow County. It's not about me. It's about the county's needs. And this grassroots campaign of door knocking has been such that I am just so humbled and honored with the vast number of people who have volunteered. And as I said, 225 folks of them. There's about a dozen my core campaign committee, and there's several that you can check the newspaper who are coming out, who have come out endorsement. But the most important thing is the endorsement on the vote. I ask y'all for my vote, for your vote on August the 21st.
All right, thank you. We're going to ask this question now to Mike first. You both had talked about roles with administrators, county administrator. That's a position that's going to be an important one to look at. Now, this question has been asked before, but we feel it deserves restating and further discussion. So, Mike, first to you. Assuming that the current county administrator is retiring, what is your plan for hiring a county administrator? Would you hire someone locally or have a broader search? And when would you want them on board?
Well, it's not an assumption. Steve Bradley told both of us and the other candidates that he was retiring. As recently a week ago, I went back to him and asked him not to. I asked him to stay on if he would continue. He, at the end of that good, long, thorough discussion, agreed that he would, and I think he's told my opponent the same thing, come back, if need be, on a part-time basis to ensure a smooth transition. I'm delighted to hear that. My plan is to focus on the county administrator job itself for the first few months. As I said earlier, I have spent untold hours, thousands of folks, hearing what the people need. I know that. I won't know any more come January the 1st. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. I'm going to spend all the focus that I can and all my internal efforts based on my experience and my background with steep financial corporate management experience to ensure that I understand fully from the ground floor up before the county's operations, before we turn that over to some other third party who might not have the same interests of the people that I have.
All right, I'm going to give you an additional 30 seconds because I want to get that second piece in, which is if you do decide to hire someone or after you decide you need to find someone, are you going to look local or is this search going to be a wider net?
There's 100 models out there in the country of how to structure local government. Just because we've had this model for the last 40 years, 20 years, is not necessarily the reason we're going to have it moving forward. The odds are high that we will, but there are other models. There may not be administrators. There may be strong department heads. There may be multiple consolidations of department. It depends on the talents and the skills of the people there and the challenges facing. I can't answer that prospectively until I wear the shoes, until I'm in a job and know fully the pressures and the challenges there. I'm not going to answer specifics like that.
All right, Steve Taylor, we're going to ask you now that same question when it comes to the county administrator role. What is your plan for hiring a county administrator? Would you hire someone locally or have a broader search? And when would you want them on board?
Well, I've already talked to at least one candidate for county administrator, and I just recently did that. But I'm going to go back to our current county administrator. His knowledge and experience and wisdom is so valuable that I think that I would be leaning on him for a lot of guidance. And if we hire an administrator soon, if we're able to do that before I take office, I think that that can transition into the next administrator. And while we've got him on board, even after the first, I think he's willing to work with us. And I know I've known him for years, and I know he'll be there whenever I need him. I don't care how long down the road it is. I can bet you I can call him, and he'll help out any way he can. But I'll look locally, and I'll look in the region. You can look state, even national. We're going to hire the best man for the job. And the familiarity is a plus. If somebody's already familiar with this job, then they'll have a leg up on it. But
to be fair, I'm going to give you an additional 30 seconds if you want to continue to expound on the local aspect. And, Mike brought up an interesting point. Do you think we even need an administrator role?
I know we need an administrator. I think this job is so big. A sole commissioner in Bartow County, 105,000 citizens thereabouts, and you think that the commissioner can do both jobs? Who are we fooling here? We can't do that. We've got to have an administrator. Your number one man after the commissioner has to have the pulse of Bartow County too, and we've got to have the right man in that job, and we've got to have him in there soon.
All right, Mike, 30 seconds to respond.
There you go again. Establishment attacks. Who are you fooling? Nobody's being fooled. I'm totally transparent. I've had on my website all information about me totally since day one. Check my website out. Check my plans. Then look for his. Look, there is no doubt that the likely model is with a county administrator moving forward. But folks who have been here all their lives don't understand that there are other ways to skin a cat. I don't know what they are until I get in. And if I'm honored by being commissioner, I commit that I'll put my full energies of hard work to determine what the proper model is for the citizens of the county, not the establishment.
All right. We go to the next question. Mike Bearden, you get this. Steve Taylor, you get this one first. Have you spoken with any members of the county administration and department heads about remaining in their current position if you're elected?
I've spoken to many department heads throughout the county, and as of yet, I haven't promised anyone that they would have their same job. But on the other hand, I'd have no plans to remove any department heads as of yet. How can you even think about that until you're sitting in the commissioner's seat? I'll review when this election's over. I hope the commissioner will welcome me into the office, and we can start chatting with department heads. But it's premature to say that you will or will not remove a department head until you're sitting in that office and do your own research, not research that other people bring to you, but this is a job that has to be done by the commissioner. Very important that we have the right people in the right positions. And as of now, I've not promised anybody they could keep their job, and I haven't said that we're going to let anybody go.
All right. Mike Bearden, I'll ask you that same question. Have you spoken with any members of the county administration and department heads about remaining in their current position if you are elected?
I have spoken to every department head that I can find during the campaign, and probably it's 3/4 of them. No, I have not promised, nor have I threatened. In fact, the establishment rumors of the past 2 weeks are unprincipled and scurrilous, where they've scared tactics out there by putting out rumors based on nothing but their own interpretation and misinterpretation of fact that that's happening. Absolutely untrue. I've had to answer untold number of phone calls the last few weeks because of all of the lies that are out there regarding how so many people are going to be fired, so many people are going to lose their jobs, so many department heads are going to be. How unprincipled. It is a shame that Chicago-style politics has moved into Bartow County.
All right. Steve, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond if you'd like to on that.
Well, as far as removing employees, Mr. Bearden himself, I think it's on tape. He said that 50 people need a career change. That was in one of our debates. That's not a rumor. That's not the establishment. I think he's trying to call me the establishment now. That is not the establishment speaking. That's Mike Bearden speaking with his own words. And it's on tape. People can look at it and just decide for themselves what he said and what he really meant. Is he going to backtrack now? It's fair. Be fair to the county employees. Let them know what you really mean.
Mike, 30 seconds.
There you go again. The establishment attack basing misinformation. Yes, do check the tape. That was not said. He knows it wasn't said. He misrepresents it, and he's doing it now in front of your audience. Now I understand where all the rumors are coming from. Absolutely not true. Everything he implied there is not true. The county deserves better. The county deserves full transparency and full definition of what we believe. Check out my website. Check out all the forms that I filled out. You'll find that I've been full disclosure and very open, and you'll find nothing on the other side.
All right, let's move to our next question as we're starting to get down to the point where you guys will be able to ask each other questions as well. One of the last questions we have, this one actually came from another one of our listeners, one of our followers at WBHF, said, quote, I'm interested in whether the local candidates have been raising money from Bartow County residents and supporting the Buy Bartow campaign that's being put out by the Chamber of Commerce and, of course, government officials, the whole Buy Bartow campaign. So, Mike, first and foremost, are you buying Bartow? And if so, why or why not?
Thank you. Yes, when this campaign is over, you'll find that 81%, presently the projection, of my money will have been spent in Bartow County. There again, the scurrilous, unfounded attacks that have been talking about that are based on misinformation and wrong data that's shown superficially on public sites. Thankfully, I've filled out every disclosure form with the state since day one. There is nothing in there that shows the detail. I'll be glad to show you this pile of spreadsheets here that identifies the individual source and the individual expenditure of every penny that I've spent. I'm further assuming that since you're asking me that question, that you'll ask my opponent what percentage of his money at Taylor Farm Supply has been spent in Bartow County.
All right, I'm going to ask just a quick follow-up to you simply because the records we have that are available online show a tremendous amount, and I don't know the percentage of all your expenditures, but what is filed online shows a lot of money being spent in Rome, Georgia. So
that's a post office box. That's the source of my advisor, who has a team, two-thirds of which are Bartow County residents, but that's like a credit card place where it goes and then the money is distributed. Absolutely. There's some of the expenditures that are outside the county, but as I said, projected to the end, 81% of my money will have been spent in Bartow County. 95% of my funds raised have come from families in Bartow County. My roots are deeper and broader as any other family in the county. 6 generations deep. I love this county. That's why I'm putting myself out there. These scurrilous attacks that come from the other side are unprincipled and unfair to the voters, to distract from issues.
Steve, I'm going to ask you the same question, as again, it came from a listener, somebody who is following these debates and has been following this election very closely, and we wanted to try to pick questions again from our listening audience. In the Buy Bartow campaign, as you are running your campaign, are you in fact buying Bartow? If so, why or why not?
You know, running a business for around 30 years and being local as I am, in this community, I buy as much local as possible. Anytime there's a local vendor, we buy it through our store. Almost always we make an effort to buy locally. The reason we do that, we see so many times when someone goes outside the community and pays the same or close to the same price for something they could have bought local. That's just so wrong if you're in business. Now that we're running for commissioner, I'll make the same effort to do that. But to answer Mr. Bearden's request here, let's talk about our campaign contribution disclosure report. I invite the people, we the people, get on there, look at the report, and see what Steve Taylor's bought and see what Mike Bearden's bought. This is in black and white. We don't have to, I don't have to say what I've done. He don't have to say what he's done. Get on there and see what's been bought in Bartow County and what's been bought in Floyd County. And I don't know about a Rome post office box. Why would a Bartow County business have a Rome post office box? So, you know, that's something that I think we need to take a close look at. If we're going to buy out of the county as candidates, I think that's an indication of what the direction we'll go as commissioner.
Mike, I know you would like to respond. 30 seconds.
Most important statement that Steve made is I don't know. That's correct. He does not know. 81% of my funds will have been spent in Bartow County. I still haven't heard a percentage from him on how much he spends in his business, which he said he's made his fortune from. I still don't know where his focus is in terms of all the land deals that he's been involved in for 20, 30 years. I still don't know what kind of conflicts might be there as a function of that. I am the candidacy of the people. I am not the establishment. I am beholden to no one. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I was getting a message as well as trying to keep track of time there, and I'm trying to do my best to keep this moving forward. I said to both of you beforehand you would each have the opportunity, though not necessary if you don't want to, but you each have the opportunity to ask up to 2 questions of the other candidate. Since, Mike, you got that last question first, we go to Steve Taylor. Do you have a question you would like to position to Mike Bearden?
Yeah, I do. I want to ask Mike, since he's hanging his hat on the T-Splosh, if you'll review on Bartow politics, the first debate, Mike and I'm guilty too, that both of us actually talked for the T-Splosh. Like I say, I'll admit, if I've done something, I'll admit it. And only a fool won't change his mind. But during the first debate, don't take my word for it, get on Bartow Politics and follow those debates, and you'll see how both of us changed from talking for the T-Splosh to talking against it. And by the way, how he knows how I voted for the T-Splosh, I'll never know. I voted against it. Now that it's over, I can tell you, I voted against it. My wife and I talked about it for weeks, and I didn't like the 10-year plan, taxing the citizens for 10 years. But
let me just stop you for a second, because at some point, is there a question for Mike? I just want to make sure. What's the question that you want to ask Mike?
I want Mike to answer the question of how he transitioned to being for it and against it. You know, how do you transition from going for the T-Splosh to against it, and now you're recruiting a small group of people to hang your hat on, and same thing that I did. I voted against it, just like Mike did.
I think we figured out the question. I'm going to give you a full 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you. I'm not hanging my hat on the T-Splosh. I'm hanging my hat on it's time for government to be smaller, for taxes to go down, and the T-Splosh was a great example of how that's the opposite. Yes, do check the tapes. Yes, you'll see that when I first heard about it that I was neutral, and I focused on how the fair tax and consumption tax based on the future of our county's hope to transition to a tourism-based society is the positive way to go. Within hours, I did not come out and say I was for it or against it. I left the implication that I didn't know. Everybody else said they're for it, particularly my opponent, who still said he was for it until just 5 minutes ago. Now, what we have is a very complex issue of growth in the county that we're going to have to address. And what I said early on is that I would put in a plan, because I'm an experienced civil engineer with a professional license, whereby we'll have a project management office internal to the county to do our needs, but for the county as a whole. I've been strongly against T-Splosh because I saw regional governments, I saw increased taxes during recession, and I saw pork barrel politics of continuation of the establishment as usual. Fully against it, have not changed my position. Another scurrilous attack based on misinformation and wrong facts by the establishment.
All right. Question 1 from you, Mike, if you would like to ask of Steve Taylor.
You know, my plans, visions, and experience and records have all been laid out on my website since day one a year ago. My conservative credentials are fully known. I've shied away nowhere about talking about what I believe, what I focus on, what my visions are. You can see it in print. You can see it in writing. Why can't we see yours, Steve? You didn't answer BartowPolitic.com survey. You didn't answer the GOP, the Republican Party survey. You did not file the initial ethics report required by the state when you started your campaign. Why don't we know what you believe? People know what Mike Bearden believes. Tell us what Steve believes. You're asking us to believe in you. Tell us what you believe.
All right, Steve?
Well, Mike, that's just not true. I did file the ethics report. It's on record. Anybody, we've got them both right here in front of us. Anybody, the election hadn't got here yet. Anybody that wants to look can look and see what's going on in my campaign. They can see that I bought Bartow, you did not, and that's just plain and simple. As far as getting in touch with me, I don't have a website, but I've gave out 17,000 cards. Most of those are from door knocking, just like you've been talking about. 17,000 cards, got information on it, but the most important thing it's got on it, it's got my cell number on it. And people call me every day asking me about issues. And they also ask me how you think on issues, and I tell them to call you. So that goes on daily. I stay on the phone 4 to 6 hours with citizens of this county daily, and I'm as transparent can get.
All right. As we have to continue to move this along, we are already going to usurp GNN News, which I think our listeners won't mind too much, as this is a really important process here, the political process, to head toward our runoff on August the 21st. Steve, you have a chance to ask one last question of Mike Bearden if you have one.
Yeah, I do have a question, and this question, it kind of bothers me because of an arrogance that's just out there with Mr. Bearden. After the the July 31st election, Mike was interviewed by Matt Shinow, Daily Tribune News, August 1st, 2012. And I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'll read a sentence that Mike says that it really bothers me. And he says, "The future is nothing like the past. Our opportunities are wonderful. They are outside the scope of what people who have been here all their lives understand." Tell me, Mike, does people that's been here all their lives, are we just so ignorant that we don't understand what's going on in Bartow County? That's the way, and you alluded to that again today when you said people that's been here all their lives don't understand. Are we just some backwood rednecks, or what do you mean by that statement, we don't understand?
Okay, Mike?
There you go again, Obama-style attack politics instead of addressing the issues. I grew up just a few miles north of here in Cassville. I've spent more than half of my life here. I've had the blessings of having experience outside that gives me a perspective that I think is of great value to the county moving forward. I'm a student of history. You know, two of the greatest presidents we've ever had, Thomas Jefferson and Dwight Eisenhower, spent their time, a lot of their time out of the country before becoming president. Those experiences make them great presidents. The experiences I've had outside of Bartow County is one of the reasons, the prime reason, that I put myself out there. And to be attacked for the blessings that I have and the wonderful experience from this county that made me is unprincipled and unprecedented. And taking Bartow County politics down to that level is reprehensible. We have a promising future. We have an obligation to meet it, and I'm asking the voters to allow me to lead them in that quest.
Unfortunately, with this section, there's not really a time for a rebuttal, but we can add that. Think about it for your closing statement. Mike, you get the last question if you've got a second one for Steve.
Thanks. The county as a whole has seen my energy, has seen my devotion of the work ethic that I've put forward in knocking on these 7,000 doors. The county can expect to have that same energy, that same vision, that same devotion if I'm honored by being their commissioner. I have no conflicts. I have no outside business interests. I have nothing that will get in the way of that energy in my time. I would like my opponent to tell us why he thinks he can offer that same level of energy, that same level of commitment with his vast network of land holdings and his businesses that he will still own, whether he has a manager working for him or not. How can he divest himself from those conflicts and impartially govern our very complex county during very challenging times?
Well, Mike, you must not have been listening when we talked about my business a few minutes ago. I will have absolutely zero influence, zero work. I'll spend no time in that business. If I'm owning that business January 1, if my wife owns it January 1, if my brother owns it January 1, I'll spend no time in that business. As far as land holdings, I don't know what you're talking about, all these land holdings we've got a couple of farms, and I've got some real estate holdings throughout the county. I don't plan on building houses. I don't plan on developing any lots. In fact, I'm trying to work out a deal now to where I can eliminate some building lots I've got, and that will. My pledge to you is that I'll try my best to get rid of them by January 1. But as you know, in today's real estate market, it's hard to dissolve building lots. I know that if you're developing, it's a pathway to corruption if you're commissioner. You can say Steve Taylor said it right here on this radio station. There'll be absolutely no business activity outside the commissioner's office if I'm commissioner.
All right. Well, we probably could go on for another hour, and there's some folks out there who would probably like that. But at some point, brevity is the soul of wit, as they say. So we are down to our last segment. It has been a great debate. I know it's a spirited debate, and now is a chance for your closing remarks. Steve had the opening, so Mike, you get to make the closing statement first.
Thanks, WBHF, for this forum. I'm so humbled by this wonderful campaign experience. This campaign of we the people versus the people of power has not been about me. It's been about our county and what's best for it moving forward to its promising future. In this campaign for the runoff election, voters should ask themselves, who is the most conservative candidate who we want to match the values of Bartow County as your commissioner? I'm the only candidate who opposed the T-Splosh and voted against it. I'm the only candidate who has signed the pledge to not raise taxes. I'm the only candidate who supports term limits. I'm proudly pro-life, proud member of the NRA, and a solid conservative with constitutional conservative principles. My life experience in this campaign of knocking on over 7,000 doors has reaffirmed three things for me. I believe in a great God. I believe in our great country. And I believe in our great county. I'm Mike Bearden, and I'm asking you to believe not in me, but rather let us believe in we the people to make Bartow County great again. I'd appreciate your vote. Visit MikeBearden.com for more information about where I stand on the issues.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike Bearden. Now, Steve Taylor, for your closing statement.
I'd also like to thank you and WBHF for having us. I'd like to clear up my political views if I could. I'm conservative. I believe in conservative values. I believe that government can get too big. I believe in less government if possible. I believe that our local government is here to serve the taxpayers. If elected, the taxpayers will be my boss. I believe in lower taxes, but I know that almost all politicians talk about lower taxes, especially my opponent. I believe it's more important to listen than talk. I believe that our children and grandchildren deserve a safe, clean environment to live, work, and play in Bartow County. I'm Steve Taylor, and I would be honored to be your county commissioner. I ask for your vote on August 21st. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve Taylor. Well, again, folks, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you letting us diverge from our format for a little bit. We appreciate having a very spirited debate. The ultimate thing, get out and vote. I believe both of these gentlemen will agree on one thing. If there's one thing they will agree on, it is your right as a citizen to vote